All right, once again, hello everyone. We are going to be welcoming our next presenter. Arvind Sanjeev is an award-winning designer and artist on Google's XR team, where he futurecasts through a fusion of design, art, and technology. With work featured in the New York Times, Fast Company, and BBC, and from founding DIY hacking in India to building the world's first mixed reality flashlight, he spent his career at the edge of human-computer interaction. Also, if you checked out his demo during the break, that's some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen anyone do with AI. I know so many people that are artists that are worried about losing their jobs to all of this, and then you see people that are taking this technology and fusing it with sort of these traditional mediums from the 80s, and I think it's genuinely wonderful. I would highly recommend that you guys go and check that out later. All right, thank you so much, and we'd like to welcome Arvind onto the stage.
Yeah, so I'm an artist and creative technologist. I love to experiment with physical, tangible objects and trying to kind of have multi-sensory experiences. That's what I love to create. I'm currently in the Google XR team working on building the AI glasses with a few of our partners. And yeah, I'm originally from Kochi, Kerala in India. Let me see if this works. No. Can you go to the next slide? Sweet. So for this talk, I wanted to use this theme called co-creating with the machine, where I wanted to show mainly 3 projects that I worked on. So one of them looks at a new way in which you can create experiences that are shareable, but still augmented reality that exists outside screens, using light to kind of create these kind of social shareable experiences with people around you. The 2 other projects on the bottom are different kinds of physical AI experiments that allow you to imagine and interact with AI in a new way outside screens, using these kind of tangible interfaces that tries to intentionally slow down our interaction with AI. Next slide. So this is Lumen. Let me see if I can set up a demo. Right. So Lumen is basically an augmented reality projector. It tries to take these AR experiences that you have in your headsets or your phone apps and tries to kind of overlay it on the world around you. So this is kind of like a graffiti experience that I made, where you can try to draw in space using light. And whatever you draw in space kind of remains locked there, right? So you can imagine different kinds of experiments. It's kind of like a digital spray can in that sense, right? So you can leave notes, right? Write small pieces of stories, and you can have other people kind of discover them for you. I'm not really good in drawing with one hand and a microphone, but and yeah, so there are a lot of different applications of this, right? Some of people have also drawn lines on the floor, right? And you can use that as kind of map lines to kind of find where you need to go to in space. And it takes you to all these different spatial points, allowing you to reveal hidden stories. I can show you a few more examples. Next slide. So one of the main reasons that I made or work on this project with my team was we're trying to imagine how we can make these kind of AR, VR experiences much more social, right? When you're in your headset, only the person wearing the headset can essentially see what you're seeing. So we wanted to imagine how we can create these kind of socially shareable AR, VR experiences. So this is one application that I just showed you right now, an AR graffiti application. Here we gave it to an artist who's trying to create new avatars on top of his existing mural artwork. So there's a mural on the wall that he's already made, and he's trying to sketch and prototype new versions of that same avatar using light, right? And there's a lot of people also gathered around him, so they can see this process in real time. So this is an experiment in classrooms where we wanted to take educational experiences outside screens and iPads and tablets, right? So we had this classroom overlaid with all these interesting, fun, educational moments. So birds come out of the books and fly into the classroom, and you can find them using the flashlight, right? And kids have much more engaging experiences in the classrooms. Next slide. This is an experiment where we try to turn your home into an escape room, right? Like you can have all these mysterious objects hidden in your room. There's like a bloody murder weapon hidden in your drawer, right? So all these kind of gamify the experiences in your home, turning these mundane environments into fun spaces that you can interact with. And this is one in a museum where it's trying to reveal hidden stories and invisible stories in the world around you. All these Egyptian hieroglyphs and Greek sculptures used to be so colorful when they were made, but the color drained off and washed away, right? So we made this experience where you can like see the actual colors by shining lumen and the flashlight on them. This is a story of how we made it. So it started off as a design project that I worked on in 2017 as part of my master's in interaction design at the Copenhagen Institute of Interaction Design. It actually started as a normal-looking flashlight, the one you see there. Just like how a flashlight you can use in the dark to find your way in the dark, right? We used to play with it in our childhood. We used to make shadow stories, right? We used to make shadow puppets with it. We used to use it to kind of like reveal all these invisible things around us. So that's why I use the metaphor of a flashlight to reveal hidden stories around you. We went through a bunch of different prototyping. There's a much more complex prototype that came in the middle, which was basically a VR headset on your hand, but it was so bulky and so difficult to get into the world that we pivoted into making this iPhone-powered case that has a projector inside it, basically. So it was a year in 2021 that iPhone launched the LiDAR sensor on their phones, which made their AR experiences much more stable, right? So we immediately pivoted to making a Unity app and a projector inside it. So these are all the components inside Lumen right now. There's like a laser projector, some power, there's a Bluetooth button. That's how you interact with some of these experiences. And all of them come together to kind of create these kind of like AR, VR experiences. Yeah. And soon after, I assembled kind of a team with my old classmates in CID, and we started forming a company to try to commercialize this. I set up a small workshop in Kochi in Kerala and started 3D printing and assembling all these units by hand, and we used to ship it to a couple of different people all around the world. It was a really small setup where these dev kits basically allowed people to experiment in creating new ways in which they can use this like AR flashlight. These are just some experiments that people have worked using these dev kits. There was like a design studio in Tokyo that made these like fun monster hunting RPG experiences that kind of like these monsters spawn up in the streets, in the market streets at night, and you need to go and find and hunt them. It's like a gamified experience. Another one inspired by Studio Ghibli, where there's these suit sprites hidden in your home. You need to collect them and capture them one by one. And like the AR graffiti experience that I showed you. So we had a lot of fun getting these dev kits out in the world and having people play with it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we were trying to like fundraise during like the crypto crash in 2021. And we had a hard time kind of like raising funds and investor money. And especially at the time, no one really wanted to put money in startups, and especially not in hardware startups. So we eventually kind of like wrapped up the commercial activities, and we kind of like, got back to our industry, and some of my teammates kind of like got back to their day jobs as designers and artists. The next project that I wanted to show is Ghostwriter. So I have all these 3 demos set up on the table in the back as well. So Ghostwriter is a project that I really wanted to kind of like put out into the world to see how people can interact in a much more calm and mindful way with technology. One of the main motivations behind building it was as part of this AI course that I used to teach at the Copenhagen Institute of Interaction Design. I used to work a lot with the students at the time to try to explore how we can use AI as a tool in their daily practice as artists and designers and technologists. But one of the things that always came up when students worked on these kind of like different projects were how AI can be used in their daily lives, right? This was before ChatGPT became a thing. They were still trying to understand the value of AI, and there was also a lot of uneasiness about how AI might replace their jobs at some point. So along with the students, we worked on a bunch of different fun projects, right? Different kinds of experiences where you can co-create different experiences with the AI, where you become a part of the artwork, and together with the AI, you create all these wonderful experiences. But like I mentioned, there was always this uneasiness that students felt. And one of the things that I always kept communicating was something that the earlier chess champion, Garry Kasparov, used to say, was how it's only when a human's emotional sensibilities and their critical thinking skills, only when you combine that with a machine's brute computational capability, do you actually get a powerful system that can create useful things for you. So we often talked about this metaphor of a human-machine centaur that can work together to create these kind of like super aligned systems in the world. So that's how the motivation for Ghostwriter came up. I wanted to create a vessel where people can come and interact with AI, but in a much more slow way, as opposed to a digital editor where you can like type in prompts and get responses really quick. Even before you finish reading the response, right, you need to jump on to asking the next one. So I intentionally tried to slow down our interaction with AI by using an old school typewriter from the 80s. I took out the guts and put in like a Raspberry Pi and Arduino and made it talk to a ChatGPT API. So as you can see in the video, you can also try it out at the demo later. You can ask questions to the ChatGPT on a piece of paper, and it responds back to you on the same sheet of paper. So the idea here is that I felt like whenever you try to get thoughts out using ink and paper, in some way it actually makes you really critical about what you're trying to create and put out in the world. So that's one of the nice things that I felt like Ghostwriter tries to do. It's a really fun artistic provocation to how we can slow down interaction with AI. Some behind the scenes of how I made Ghostwriter, took out some of the internal hardware, put in new Raspberry Pi and Arduino to talk to the ChatGPT API. It was fun trying to kind of like take apart all these vintage electronic devices. You actually see how we have kind of like advanced with PCBs and all the electronics. So it was a really fun project in that sense. So yeah, this is a little bit more into the technical details. So an Arduino is used to read the keystrokes of the typewriter. It sends the read prompts to Raspberry Pi, and Raspberry Pi connects it to a ChatGPT API, and it fetches a response and uses the same driver to print it back on the same sheet of paper. So one of the most fun things that I got to do with Ghostwriter is have been taking it out for all these different exhibitions and getting people to try it out and having all these really rich, interesting conversations. The latest exhibition that I done was my favorite. It was last year in New York as part of Mr. James Baldwin, the earlier civil movement rights leader. As part of his 100th anniversary, the family kind of commissioned this agency who I was working with to create this much more physical experience where participants can come and interact with a version of James Baldwin. It's not like you directly interact with him, but more of how you would feel if you were to interact with an expert historian who's grounded and trained on all of Mr. James Baldwin's earlier work and literature. So whenever participants came in, they got to kind of like chat and ask questions, and they got these really grounded responses through a curated data set that Mr. James Baldwin's family put together. And you got all these really rich and critical answers that you would otherwise not get from a traditional ChatGPT wrapper. Moving on to the last project that I want to show. So this is also something that I have set up over there. So this is also along the same lines of Ghostwriter, where I wanted to slow down our interaction with AI and try to kind of like create a much more calm and meditative experience using it. So here I'm using music as a way for co-creating with the AI. So here what I basically did was I tried to create a prompt or an experience where users can enter different kind of musical notes, where the AI tries to generate all these different notes that the user entered. So you can enter different instruments, genres, or different kind of like moods that you want to create with the music. And once you finish entering them, all of them come alive on this record on the device. Let me see if this video has audio. Yeah, it has audio. So you can see in some time that it'll come alive on the record. So this is also something that I have there, so feel free to come stop and check it out. And then when you put the needle on the record, you can listen to the generated music, basically. And the nice thing about Spin is that because it's on a record, you can also like slow down how the record is playing. You can scratch and sample it just like a record, right? So it's unlocking this new dimension of working with the AI, where it's making it much more tangible and physical, where you can, opposed to a digital editor where you can't like go too in depth, you can actually use this physical interface as a way to kind of like an embodied experience where you can like use your hands to slow down music, actually feel the texture of what it's generating, right? So this is also another fun experiment that I did. And yeah, this is just a little bit behind the scenes of Spin. Similar to Ghostwriter, it also uses like an Arduino and Raspberry Pi for all the hardware-software communication. And there's also a small turntable inside it, having a digital vinyl record. So that's basically not an actual record, it's a time-stamped vinyl. So it has, when the track is overlaid on it, you can actually like control the speed, scratch and sample. So a lot of DJs and music producers have reached out to me after this because they want to kind of like have a tool like this to explore how AI can be a part of their daily workflow for music generation. And yeah, that's all that I wanted to show. I'm continuing to work on some more AI experiments and physical digital experiments. So if you want to see more, feel free to follow me. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Arvind for that performance. Well, it was a display, but it felt more like a performance. Can we get a round of applause?